Just wanted to take a moment to express a quick point that we live in a world where there's so much happening deep down and subversively and within that never gets expressed, that it's hard to remember and easy to forget that this whole event is causing real harm, real detriment to people that is never really expressed in a big way. It astounds me how much censorship, both mentally and out loud, that we are experiencing. All this range of emotion and this depth of feeling is not meant to be repressed forever. It's going to have a nasty after effect, and I believe a lot of people completely lost their way, to say the least. The blinders were on, and somebody else was calling the shots for many people throughout this time period, the past several years. It's been an eerie, disturbing trend, but I think what people need to do is remember the actuality of everything. I think everybody who's concerned about this event and knows what it means and is trying to find the right details so you can make sense of it and have closure and peace of some variety, I think you need to sit down and make a list of your relatives, one by one, and just call every single one of them, just to at least say hello to clear your mind, because we live in an uncertain time where there's a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of unseen risks in the world around us that will never be explained to us. They don't want us to know about these risks because perhaps we would avoid them, or perhaps we wouldn't fall prey to them. It's a lot of silent suffering and a lot of lack of acknowledgement about anything that's off the beaten path or too disturbing to speak of. We live in a time period where there are high degrees of trauma and fear-based mind control that's preventing a lot of things that should be happening from occurring. The organic flow of life has been forever affected, and being self-aware and being able to express that is a difficult thing for almost everybody, especially with all the manipulative factors and the fact that many people are incentivized and basically forced into silence. People like me, people like you that are willing to speak and wanting to progress through this and do something different, we're going to be the outliers who are going to receive the most scrutiny, but at the same time we're also the most pure of heart, who are the most sure of ourselves because we have faith and belief. So there's always that factor. You're going to have to be willing to stand out and perhaps be the first person known for doing something. None of the greats were followers. They were leaders who stood in the pack all their own because they had to. Their peers didn't understand them or respect them the way they should have because they quite frankly weren't on the same level and didn't feel and sense the things that they felt. So just remember, you're going to stand alone and stand apart from everybody else, because this mentality, this hive mind, and the groupthink that's been established because of it is very eerie. Just remember, if you're going against the grain, I would feel good about that, because going with the grain based on what I've determined and what I know about the world is not the right thing, and they're never going to explain that to people. So hopefully it becomes easier to find common ground. Certainly nobody would be odd to make a statement proclaiming that the world is weird and different, and it's never going to be weird and different enough to speak of for most people, most of the time. But if you're like me and you can point out these glitches in the matrix and you can stand by with fact and reason, then I think then you're cut above the rest. And I'll put it simply, if you do what you want to do and you end up not being here on this plane of reality, then I think you know where you're going. I think that's the big picture. We should never really be afraid of death if you're a good person. That's easier said than done for most people, but I could care less. I'm not going to run headfirst into trouble or problems, but I'm also not going to live in fear of them presenting themselves, because I'm pretty sure I'll figure it out. And if you have that mindset, then you will. But if you're a pessimist who only looks at the glass half empty, then you never will. It'll just be a merciless tirade against your emotions, and you'll never win it. So hopefully that helps.